So I'm the outsider. I'm the fourth voice today, if you will, from your chairman to your property leader to your fraud control experts. And my job is context. How does this theme, how does this message fit in with the sort of the bigger picture of what's out there in other organizations and other industries? But I got to do one thing first. I've been doing programs like this. About a third of my job is standing and talking. I handle cases, I do audits, I audit large construction projects with a small team of experts. And I spend about a third of my schedule standing and talking about fraud and other topics. At conferences, I've spoken here at the Bellagio maybe 15 or 20 times over the last, I don't know, dozen or so years, in the ballrooms, up on the stage, at corporate conferences. 23 years of doing this, 1,500 plus programs. This one today is absolutely my favorite. How could it not be? I walked in here this morning, we did a session at 9 o'clock, and I was like the stereotypical kid on Christmas morning. I'm wandering around here with full house lights on, just stunned at what you have. This is big. This company is big. Oh, and by the way, this initiative is big. Now, this is the context, the perspective from outside. If I have an expertise, honestly, it's in this area. So whatever that's worth, you know, you're a fraud expert. What the heck is that good for most days? But it pays the mortgage. But in all those years of doing this work, particularly the years of standing and talking about it, I can count absolutely on the 10 fingers of both hands the number of major companies that I know here in the United States who have taken the time and the resources to do something like this. From the heart, from the outside, this is a fact. So when I say this is part of something big and you are part of something big, I'm not just talking about the image of the company and the grandness of even this wonderful building and this hall that we're in right now. I'm talking about this program. And you don't probably notice that because you don't see what others are doing. To solve this problem of fraud in corporate America, there's only one thing that works, and that is the attention to detail of every single person who works in the organizations. Not every day, not every minute, not like a Sherlock Holmes focus on what you see. For this solution to work, it has to be actionable within the time and the context of your individual jobs. So we break it down into a simple step. When you're taking a look at something that needs your attention in the normal day-to-day work that you do, a document, a report, a request, an invoice for fruit trees, a credit card transaction, the balancing of a drawer, the balancing of a cage, overseeing entertainment facilities, housekeeping, food and beverage. It's at that moment of transaction. It's a very transaction-based business. Transactions, certainly financial, but transactions with customers, transactions, moments with each other, transactions with information. At the moment of review and approval, what we take for granted, you're probably so used to it barely deserves conscious thought most moments. All that I could ask and the company could ask you to do is to just pause briefly and think before proceeding. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Okay. When I do work with other organizations, and I get a chance, I call it on the autopsy of a case, to go in and see how it started and interview people. Yeah, when someone breaks the rules, there's things that will happen, and they get caught, and there's a process, and Sharon emphasized some of that in her examples and such. Okay, that's the back end. Well, one other part of the back end is the business issue, which is how could it happen? How could it go on for a period of time? I mean, a distract and grab scheme is a one and done. A credit card, fake credit card to one of our registers here, for example, in the coffee shop over there near the pool entrance, where I've been 3 times today so far. The fake credit card and the insistence on people of asking behind the counter, of asking for my license every time, even though they greeted me almost by name the 3rd time. Sir, so good to see you. Weren't you just here 2 hours ago? Do you have your license? It's that attention to detail that solves this problem. So when I go back and look at cases, the autopsy, back to the beginning, and where were the failures that occurred, and when could it have been caught? These are on the cases that run for months and sometimes years. These are the types of reactions I get from people when I talk to them. How could someone do this here? This drains away resources and money from things that are important to us. The number of staff to serve in a housekeeping function, the amount allowable for benefits or available for benefits, let alone expanding the business and advertising and all the many things that we need to, better technology. And it drains away from that. Every dollar taken by this horrible thing called fraud or wrongdoing or theft or misconduct, whatever we want to call it, takes resources away. And those who are not involved in the scheme, certainly, this is the feeling. It takes away from me. It takes away from you. And we have to then come to an environment of uncertainty and distrust. And that's not where we want to work. And people will tell me, I'll say, what are you feeling about this? Honest people who work in the same department will say, what the heck is going on here? And I've heard this for years. It's a natural human reaction to someone within our circle of trust, whether it be another employee, an associate, a trusted vendor or supplier, customer, who violates that trust, who says, I have an advantage here, I'm on the inside, and here's how I'm going to cheat for me, and everyone else who's honest says, how can you do that? Now, ethics, right? Somehow they got past ethics. Think that through. So these are the reactions that we get over and over and over again. When we talk to people like you who are affected by these cases, these are the reactions that we get. And they are legitimate, and they are fair, and they are true. So the goal is to make sure this doesn't happen, not on your watch. I use the very simple, I don't have complex videos because I've been doing these types of things for so long that I know what can go wrong. They say when you make a presentation that Murphy's Law is in full effect. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong at some time in your career, and it will. So I keep it real simple. Could it get much more simple than that? But imagine, if you will, you're driving home from work. You get to a railroad crossing. You cross every single day on the way home. Most days there's no train there, but occasionally you see one. The lights aren't flashing. The arm isn't down. Still, you should pause, crack your window a little bit, turn the radio down, just for a second. Stop, look, listen. It's the same thing we want to have happen when you're in your management, your supervisor, your working role. At that moment of critical review step, or just attention to detail for quality, to stop, look, and perhaps better than listen, think. Think. Think this. What if what I'm seeing right now isn't true? It was true yesterday, it was true last week, it was true before. It was true for the last 100 customers that handed me their credit card. What if this one isn't true? Should I just not ask for identification because he's standing in a suit and tie and he looks corporate? No. The cashier who says, show me your identification, has the right mindset. Is this one true? Henry Ford has a quote that I absolutely love, and it's attributed to him. Somehow it's also been attributed to Albert Einstein. I don't know how those two, but that's what happens when things get posted on the internet, I think. We're not sure of the true source. I think it was Henry Ford. He says, thinking is the hardest work we do. Stop, look, think. Hardest work we do. Actually, there's another phrase that falls behind this. If you were to research it, you'll see the second half, so I'll tell you what it is. Thinking is the hardest work we do, which is probably why so few people do it. If you think that through, it's not that we don't care, it's we get busy. We see the same thing 50, 100 times in a shift, if not more. And to stop and think, is this one true? That takes effort. That takes conscious awareness. It takes thinking. I always ask when I have a management team assembled, what do you want when you come to work each day? To bring it, to think, bring it up to the conscious level, to bubble it up to the conscious level. What do you want? So I'm going to ask you the same way I've asked hundreds before you. What do you want when you come to work? Do you want to come to an environment that is honest? or dishonest? Honest. Of course, of course. Let me ask you one more. Do you want to come to an environment where it is based on trust or theft? Trust. You know, the folks this morning were much more sure. I'm just saying it was probably the 9 a.m. caffeine racing environment at that time, but let me ask you one more just to make sure we're all on the, quite literally the same page. Do you want to come to an environment filled with and based on integrity or cheating? Ah, that's what we wanted to hear. Otherwise, I was going to dive backwards into the pool just to get your attention, not accidentally, on purpose. So what I just heard you say, and what I expected you to say as I put the slides together in advance, is you want to come to work where there is honesty, trust, and one of the 3 core values, integrity. Integrity, by the word, integrity, the word, to integrate, to tie together. A simple concept. If you look at the root word, it ties together what we do. This is how we act, with integrity, where we take our personal and collective efforts and our ethics and bring them to our work. That's what integrity means. We all do it. And that's what we want. That's what everybody wants in their work environment. Well, guess what? That's what the leaders want too, because we ask them as well. As part of any consulting project I've ever worked on, first thing I want to do is sit down with the highest level executive I can find on this topic of fraud, and I'll say, what do you want? And have them tell me. And that's what they say. We want to provide an environment where our employees, our customers, our vendors, suppliers, contractors, our agents can get into business with us and feel that this is what they have, confidently every day. I have never had a high-level executive, board member, governance infrastructure, key person tell me anything different. And then the next question I say is, how do you make sure that's possible? Well, here at MGM, here's how they do it. There are 5 things that the business environment brings to you, 5 things, like the fingers on a hand, 5 that are so important. Leadership, policies and procedures, employee experts available to handle this issue, an active, positive relationship with the necessary, unfortunately, necessary outside authorities when fraud does occur, and anonymous reporting tools. Let me just spend a minute to explain to you on each one the depth of commitment by the company to you. First, leadership, property and corporate. This program started with property leadership and corporate leadership standing and saying, this is important to us. On my watch as a leader, this is important. Active follow-up is promised. Professional active follow-up is promised. Policies and procedures, there are various anti-fraud policies that are out there. Yeah, some of them are very specific about things like conduct and ethics and handling customer assets and our own assets. And some of them are more general. This is how we behave. And then you drill down into procedures. You will balance. You will double check. When a subordinate hands you a transaction using a procurement card, you will verify. Policy and procedure. On the surface, some of them don't appear to address fraud directly, but I'm an auditor. I'm a CPA. I understand internal controls and debits and credits. That's my core skill set. I know implicit in those paragraphs of corporate policies like that why they're there and the anti-fraud reasons that they're there. Again, a strange expertise, but it's needed. Employee experts. Now, in this industry, in this business, in this company, in this property, we all have a high level of awareness of security and surveillance in certain aspects of the business. But it goes beyond that. It goes into legal and HR and compliance experts. And it comes to our sponsor group here under Heidi, Seeley, and Sharon, and the rest of the team you met when you came in, corporate fraud control. Not to be redundant, certainly, to any of those experts that are already listed up there, but to add to it, to bundle it together, perhaps, and work in harmony with these other experts there. That's why we're here, to take the message beyond the specialists into everyone. active positive relationships with gaming officials, with law enforcement, with prosecutors and other outside experts we may need, depending on the nature of the issue that's being reviewed. Anonymous reporting, Section 3 in the Corporate Code of Conduct, a duty to report, an independent third party that was referred to as Ethics Point, which is a company located just south of Portland, Oregon, on the highway about 20 miles south of Portland, Oregon, and is one of the two big names in the confidential independent reporting business. They've been at it for a long time. Their reputation is outstanding. Many of my large company clients use them, just like you do here, so that if you were to call the toll-free number or log on to the ethicspoint.com website and find your company there, their purpose is to be the independent intermediary, to take in the information and help you or anyone else who works here remain anonymous if that's what you choose. It's not the only way to report, certainly, but it is one more way, one more sign of the company's commitment and the resources expended on it to hit people's comfort level when they suspect there may be something that isn't quite right. I said those 5 things, count them on one hand, and now we talk about the other half of the contract, what we need from everybody here. Also 5 things. To act, now this is not anything new. In fact, none of this is new. It's a reminder. To act just as you do every day, in an honest, ethical, forthright manner. That's the way you conduct your affairs at work, at home, with your family, in your community. Bring it here, integrate it, maintain it. Of course, of course, of course. Preaching to the choir, preaching to the converted. I know that, you know it. But we can never let down on it. 2, to be aware of and use the anti-fraud tools. Yes, the anonymous reporting and yes, the specialized resources, but mostly the various reports that you get, the pieces of paper, whatever it happens to be that crosses your eyes in your desk, that tells you something's not right because you know what's normal and these reports show you something else. You know what's normal. You're the experts. So when a behavior or information differs from that, you're in the best position to know. That's why the solution rests with you. It's not trying to heap onto you something you're not ready to do. It's what you do. It's how you manage. It's how you lead. It's how you act at work. You know when something's not normal. 3, make it difficult for others intent on committing wrongful acts. Make it difficult by being good managers, by checking details within reason, not to be onerous. It's all under the umbrella of quality, of doing it right. Good managers check details. Not every detail, not every day. That's physically impossible. But they monitor and they know. Make it difficult. Someone's going to try to get you at some point in time. It's inevitable. You want to make sure you catch them the first time. You want to make sure you catch them the first week, not after 6 months. Or honest to goodness, even after 6 months, better than 6 years. Too many of my clients call me and say, we found a fraud. Can you come in and take care of it for us? And one of the first things I say to them is, how long has it been going on? And in the case I talked about this morning, with the group that was here, 7 years. And during the autopsy, I found point after point after point where had someone been paying attention to details, they would have caught it sooner. They would have caught it for sure in the first 6 months when it was less than $200,000, and it grew to $3.5 million. Paying attention, all the signs were there. But people did this. They believed what they saw. They said, oh, it must be true because I've known him for a long time. This was a 25-year employee who at the age of 55 came in and started doing this. But they knew him for so long, they just thought, oh, that's just old Dick. He's not real good with numbers. He was the controller. What do you mean he's not good with numbers? That's what he does. His lifestyle changed. The stories. It was there. And people failed to react. People failed to say, do I see something that's weird? Don't make it easy for them. Within reason, check details for quality, for good management reasons. And guess what? The anti-fraud purpose comes right along with it, just like a car attached to the back of a train. 4, set a great example, not only in your own behavior, but let other people see your great example of how you handle and treat company information, of how you protect confidential data files that are held in an IT environment, certainly how you handle and protect customer relationships and customer goods. It's the positive example of group leaders at every single work group in the company. And 5, speak up. How many times have you heard this message since the top of the hour? Speak up. When you see something, and, my addition, when you suspect something. It takes courage to say, I'm not sure, but this looks funny. It's easier, although still tough, to say, this is wrong. A little more difficult to say, I'm not certain, but something, I suspect something here. To speak up. So we do these 5 things throughout the company, and the management team takes their 5, and we bring them together. We integrate them, and we have the 1-2 punch to fight this problem. Second quote, and this one I absolutely love. The Henry Ford one I think is kind of cute. This one I think you can wrap what you do around. Don't have to worry about changing the anti-fraud world at MGM, at your property, Bellagio, or otherwise represented here today. What we ask is that each day, day in and day out, you simply do what you can with what you've got right where you are. That's pretty simple, and it works. And if everybody did that in our busy times, in our stressed times, we did the best we could, within reason, right where I am with what I have available to me, this problem starts to fall off the charts. It'll never be 0. We can cut it in half. We can cut it by 3/4 simply with just that. A couple last thoughts from an outsider. From the outsider. I started with outsider perspective. I'll finish with outsider perspective or context. You're part of something big here. You know, 1 of 10 that I'm aware of have done this type of thing with this many people. A big industry, a well-known name, high reputation, to take the proactive steps that your leaders are taking, that you're taking, to be here. It's like a slice in time. So what happens once you leave here? Can we sustain this? This is big. This is big. And you're the experts. Yeah, we have fraud experts and fraud control and legal and security and surveillance and all those other places. But in your work area, you're the expert. You're the one who knows better than anyone else. Number 3, you're in the best position to know. Every single person here is in the best position to know what can go wrong on your watch. And 4, you're the company's then, therefore, critical first line of defense. Yeah, we have other defenses behind it, but the front line is the most important one. Fraud not on my watch. I love that phrase. I've said that from the beginning with Heidi and Sharon and the rest of the team put this together. I love it. Not on my watch. And with that in mind, and as the sister program that was referred to at the beginning of see something, say something, let me rephrase the emphasis on the portion on this side. This one that's become we're so used to seeing and hearing, sometimes it doesn't stick anymore. Let me try it one more time. When you see something, you say something. We got it? Thank you.